Alderneys Key FM.
Now going to speak to our President, William Tate. Good morning to you, William.
Good morning, Dougal, and good morning to everybody who's listening on the radio and online.
How are you, firstly?
I am absolutely fantastic, Dougal.
Good. That's good to hear.
It's my default setting, as anybody who knows me will say.
Yeah, it's a bit like when we all go to the doctors. Everybody says, how are you? We say, I'm fine.
I only do positive.
Yes, exactly. And so you've got a message for us this morning, a daily update?
Yes, I have. Again, it's a bit messy, so please forgive me, but I shall work my way through it. Let's start with the way we start every morning, which is to give you an update on where we are with testing and cases. So, situation in the bailiwick is now that there are 91 positive cases of COVID-19. There are 38 outstanding test results. The amount of testing is being increased to ensure we develop a better view of the extent to which the virus is spreading in the community. The number of deaths remains at 1, as announced yesterday. In Alderney, we do not yet have any positive cases, but we still have outstanding test results. I keep saying that we must not assume that the virus isn't here. And I did get an email from somebody yesterday who said, Alderney may be COVID-free, and I hope we will know for certain in a few days. Well, we won't know for certain in a few days, but we will continue to test and we will continue to make sure that any cases are identified quickly and we deal with them. So just to go back to something I said yesterday, and I think it bears repeating, it's becoming clear that we are still learning about this virus. We all know the main symptoms are one or more of the following: a dry cough, shortness of breath, and a fever. But we now know it doesn't affect everyone in the same way. Sometimes it's just one of the symptoms. Sometimes it is so mild that it's barely noticeable. For other people, it is extremely serious or even fatal. Indeed, we now know that sometimes it doesn't even display the three main symptoms, but that it can, in some age groups, just have symptoms such as fatigue and diarrhea. So I don't want to alarm people unnecessarily, but if you do have any symptoms which you think might be COVID-19, then again, please ring the helpline on 756 938, 756 938, or 756 969, 756 969. And I'm sure that by repetition, people now know the numbers to ring if they have a problem. So the Scientific, Technical and Advisory Group of experienced scientists and medics are assessing the risk on a daily basis. So if and when they feel confident that the risk to Alderney has changed, they will advise and guide us about what continuing measures need to be taken. Trying to second-guess their advice or the timing of it is not helpful. So we are in a slightly different position to Guernsey, and of course there are issues here which are unique to our community. But please rest assured that through the command and control structure, all our concerns are being considered and assessed, and we then get advice based upon that information. So effectively, we put in our contribution and we are then told this is the advice for you to follow. And we cannot deviate from that advice. At the present time, the Civil Contingencies Authority has overall responsibility for the bailiwick. So to that extent, they make the decisions and we implement them. Now, you may have read that there is a cluster of COVID infections in a residential and care home in Guernsey, and there has been a huge effort to test and contain the virus there. This is one of the scenarios which presents the greatest risk, as it exposes a concentration of more senior and vulnerable people to the virus. It's obviously one of the risks we face in Alderney too, and I just want to say a little about the preparations here. Liz Bowskill, the super manager at the Connaught Care Home, is an integral member of our operational group, and she also accesses professional advice from health and social care colleagues in Guernsey. So Liz is informed about and can learn from what has happened at the Guernsey Residential and Care Home. Liz and her team are doing all they can to keep residents in the Connaught and Jubilee safe. Regrettably, this has meant an end to visiting for the time being. A lot of thought is going into how we keep staff and volunteers safe and healthy so they continue to provide care. So I just wanted to understand that whilst the people in the Connaught and Jubilee remain amongst our most vulnerable because of their age, we are doing what we can to prepare and keep them as safe as possible. And I am party to the conversations which take place on a daily basis, and Liz Bowskill gives the group an up-to-date assessment of where she's at, the resources she has available, the access she has to specialist advice, and once again, we are blessed to have in the team somebody who is so committed to protecting the vulnerable, and I have to say I am amazed at her professionalism, her dedication, and her passion to make sure that she does the best she can. So please rest assured, our most senior citizens are being incredibly well looked after. And I think in terms of the challenges we all face, perhaps Liz is at the very forefront of those, because for obvious reasons, but please be assured she's doing a magnificent job. Now, I am reluctant to mention things, excuse me, which should really be private, but yesterday something appeared on Facebook which has caused a lot of people to feel very uncomfortable, and I have had a number of telephone calls and emails in the last 24 hours asking me what actually is the position. And what this relates to is the position of our managerial leader, Andrew Mutter. Now, most people will know that in January of this year, Andrew came and explained to me, for reasons which he will share when the time is right, that he felt he could no longer add value to his role, and therefore he intended to resign. But he didn't just give the 3 months notice he's required to do by contract. He gave us an extra 3 months so that we could properly go through the recruitment process to find his successor. So the State Employment Board set up an action group who were to deliver on the process of recruitment, which I chair. Now, anything which takes place in that group or within the wider State's Employment Board, which is effectively all of policy and finance, is confidential. Now, it appears that an email that I had sent to the members has been shared outside that group. Now, this is not a one-off problem. There has been a problem around confidentiality for a very long time. But this is a time of crisis, and sharing information about Andrew's personal circumstances is incredibly unhelpful. So let me just tell you the reasons why I do propose to invite Andrew to stay with us and to steer us through this crisis. Originally, it was his intention to leave in August, but I'm going to ask him to reconsider that decision, and for that approach, I have the support of a majority of States members. So these are the reasons. Firstly, Andrew gave us advance warning of his resignation so that we had time to recruit a successor. But in the current circumstances of COVID-19, we are not going to be able to do that within the timescale we originally envisaged. So it is impossible at the moment to go into the recruitment process. I have discussed this with the law officers, with human resources in Guernsey, and with His Excellency the Lieutenant Governor. And we are all clear that to try and enter this process would be a very negative experience for obvious reasons, and so therefore it follows that having Andrew still on the bridge is a priority. Secondly, from my personal knowledge of the way the response to this current emergency is being led, we could not be in better hands, and I can't say that often enough. In a situation like this, you need a single controlling mind, someone who sees and understands the complete picture, someone who can encourage, challenge and direct, someone who can build and lead a team. We have that person, and we aren't going to get a replacement at short notice. So yes, we might be able to find somebody who could keep us ticking over, and in normal circumstances that might have been necessary. But you've heard the reasons why I think it is vital that Andrew stays with us. And to those out there who think, well, we should just let him go, let me put this question. Who else is going to do it? Who else has the qualifications to lead us? And I can tell you, having lived here 24 years, there is nobody who has that skill set. So thirdly, the reason I'm talking about this, as I've said, I've already had many, many phone calls and emails from people who have told me of their admiration and gratitude for the job he is doing. Now, I get lots of phone calls and emails because people know who I am, and these emails and phone calls confirm the support for myself and Andrew for the way in which we are dealing with this crisis. So Andrew doesn't get that daily boost that I get, although I share them with him. Nevertheless, it's very uplifting for me to get such a wealth of support from our community. So I want to read now a letter or a statement I've received from the Alderney Chamber of Commerce. And they represent around 100, or they have 150 members, which represents a very significant part of our community. So to those who think that it would be appropriate to let Andrew go, please listen carefully to this. And this is the view of the Alderney Chamber of Commerce. Dramatic times require strong and straightforward leadership. As this unknown situation unfolds, we are seeing Alderney at its best. Our community is pulling together and our state's leadership is at the fore. We recognise it's not easy. The ever-increasing amount of information and data that is appearing at an unprecedented rate daily and indeed hourly at the desks of our civil service is proving a monumental job to administer and prioritise. This has to be collated in a logical manner for further transmission to the people of Alderney by email, leaflets, social media, and most importantly, by yourself, that's me, the island's president. We also listen to your daily updates on the situation via our local radio station, Key FM, where Dougal comes into his own. Alderney is fortunate at this time to have professional guidance and steering from our CEO, Andrew Mutter, and his team, and we hope he is able to stay to support us through to the end of this crisis. It is at times of such crisis that we must continue to pull and work together. Please forget political ideologies and personal wants and aim for what is needed, an end to these troubled and most worrying times. We need stability, professionalism, and leadership. We have all three. If we keep together, we can and will overcome this. And that is signed by Andrew Eggleston. So let Andrew be under no illusion. The vast majority of this community want him to stay and want him to steer us and continue to steer us through these troubled waters. And I hope that those of you who have the opportunity are able to convey that message to him, because it means a huge amount. So I apologise for having to mention that. I would much rather have not done so. But I think the community are entitled to explanations, and as and where issues are raised, it is our responsibility to deal with them. So please rest assured, I will be having that conversation with Andrew, and as a few people will know, I can be quite persuasive when I put my mind to it. It's one of the skills of the job that I did throughout my professional career. Okay, so let's leave that and let's look at some media. Okay, so the command and control structure is that the media is all to be coordinated via one source. So that was the advice we received for the CCA, and it was agreed that by the operational group that I should be the voice of the media to give that element of consistency and to ensure that the information that was made available was accurate and up to date. Now, there are those who question, well, why is it the President when it is Gavin St Pierre in Guernsey? Well, it's simple. One, they don't have a President, and let me just read what the Government of Alderney law says about the President. The President has precedence in Alderney over all persons except a member of the royal family or a person who directly represents Her Majesty, the Lieutenant Governor or a person the Lieutenant Governor has named to represent him, and finally the bailiff. So I don't say that to blow my own trumpet, because it makes me feel very humble, frankly. I say it because we have the role of the President, who is the civic head of the community, and that is one of the reasons why I think I was asked to perform this role. And secondly, that I spent a career speaking in public. So the skills of my job makes this a lot easier for me than it does for most people. So please, when you want your advice, that is the structure. It is for the Chief Executive and myself to convey that information. You know it's reliable. Don't listen to rumour. Don't listen to half-baked schemes about how we're going to get out of this, and we can all be singing from the same page. James Dent, I don't give him enough credit, I don't think, on the radio for the work that he does here, because he is our representative on the Civil Contingencies Authority, and so he puts our point of view at this incredibly important group to make sure our interests are protected. And he, like the rest of the team, is working very, very hard, very, very long hours. He's part of the 100-plus email a day club, which just gives you an idea. And all these emails have to be answered. So you get a real sense of how important all these roles are. So next, can I talk a little bit about health? Now, yesterday there was some interesting stuff put on the GovGG website about health and how to manage your health during these difficult times. Interesting to see that Guernsey are now setting up welfare calls through the St John's and Carers in Guernsey and an online voluntary forum. So we've already done that, so we're a step ahead there. But they also have helpful information about nutrition and keeping active, because, of course, those are two of the very important keys, because it's not just about physically keeping well, it's also about mentally keeping well. So I was going to mention those to you anyway, but last evening I got a phone call from Charlotte Newton, who most of you will know well, and she is a personal trainer, and let me read you a few words that I asked her to write so that I can explain the initiative that she has started. So Charlotte says this: exercise and keeping fit could play a big part in helping us through this stressful time. Exercise gives you a huge boost of endorphins and makes you feel energized. It helps you sleep better and makes you less willing to crave for the sweet and carbohydrate-laden food, which we all tend to do in moments of stress. I'm doing free online live workouts on my Facebook page, and that is Personal Trainer. They are staying up there, so if you don't watch them live when she does them, you can go on to Facebook and you can do them at any time. Now, she's doing this free. She's doing it for a whole range of activities, of age groups. So even for those people who don't exercise normally, there will be something on there for you. So I'm calling her our Joe Wicks of Alderney. Again, fantastic initiative, fantastic commitment, no thought of personal gain, just wanting to make her contribution. So thank you, Charlotte, and I shall be tuning in myself as and when I get the time. Spike Islander, Maggie mentioned this morning, she was brought from the mainland yesterday, but we couldn't be unloaded because we didn't have spreaders, whatever they may be. So she disappeared still on the Valiant down to Guernsey. A crew went down yesterday, and touch wood, she will be back in the inner harbour later today. So again, massive thanks to Bruno and also to everybody else who's made their boats available to us. So I think, those people who listened to Ralph this morning on the radio cannot be anything other than chilled at the experiences that he has gone through over the course of the last week. And once again, it makes us realise how real this is. And so, having had to deal with that tragedy, I think he just wanted to share that with you. And as one of our most respected elders, I think we all very much took him to heart. And those who don't know Ralph well, he was the chief pilot on Irini for donkey's years, and may or may not be true, but the story goes that on one occasion, as he came out of the office to go to the plane with all the passengers on board, he tapped his way across the apron with a white stick. I hope that's true, and even if it isn't, it's a damn good story. So finally, every morning when I get up, I turn on the Today programme at 6 o'clock to get the up-to-the-minute information. And what's interesting is that when all this started, there was a sense of unity. And that, unfortunately, is now starting to fracture. So you turn the radio on now, and it's more and more discordant criticism of the government, which only gets in the way of delivering what needs to be done. And it just made me think how important it is for us to remain united in the way we deal with this. We're in a very strong position at the moment, and as I keep saying, if we carry on supporting each other, we'll be in the best place to get through this and come out on the other side. So please, again, please don't get involved in the Facebook. It only gets oxygen if you respond. So if you leave it, it will die a death. And it really is, for those of us who are doing our best on the front line, massively unhelpful if people seem to think we're not doing the best job we can. We're doing our best, unprecedented times. There's no handbook in the Island Hall that says how to deal with COVID-19. So yes, decisions, as I keep saying, are being made in real time. For example, there was something yesterday, I had some concerns about a restaurant here that was cooking meals in their commercial kitchen and selling them via a retail outlet. And that is not permitted under the regulations. But people found that hard to believe. But the reality is, if it's not prescribed as being possible within the regulations, then it cannot happen. And no amount of people complaining about the unfairness of it is going to change that. So please, again, respect the views that are coming out of Guernsey, support the medical opinion, support the frontline workers, and support Andrew in his continued quest. And the responsibility is massive to protect us all and guide us through this. So I know I keep, people go, oh, here he goes again. And yeah, I'm sorry that a lot of the stuff I have to do is by way of repetition. But I want you to know how things are at the heart of all of this. And I want you to be part of this. And the only way we can do that is to give you the good news and the bad. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to do everything we can to keep you safe. Okay, Dougal, I think that's everything from me.
Lovely, William. Thank you very much for that this morning. And we'll speak to you again, of course, tomorrow morning around 9:15 with further updates. One thing is for sure, that when this is all over, and it will be all over, we'll all be doing this. William Tate, thank you very much indeed.
Okay, thanks, Dougal. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
Alderney's Key FM.